do, folks, is Inverness, the boathouse. So this is where they put the boat. Now, just to give you an idea, this was the boat going down the hill from here. Okay. So we've got 20 to 30 guys. When the klaxon went, 20 to 30 guys would rush to here, chains and ropes, take it down to the corner there, but it was on a fixed wheel trolley. So how did they get it round the corner? And you're coming in here. So, when they got to the corner, because it was a fixed wheel trolley, they were stuck. How were they going to get around the corner? So they invented a long stick with a hook on the end, and they made 4 of them, and had the 4 biggest guys, one in each corner, one each wheel, and they would jump inch by inch around the corner until they were straight down there, and they'd go down to the bottom and do the same thing again. So they've got to get from here down to the bottom, round 2 corners and out. How long did that take? Somebody said 3.5 weeks to me the other day, and I said, I think that's probably, they'd be drowned by then. So it was obviously a sensible sort of time. But any ideas, any guesses how long that might be?
20 minutes?
20 minutes, yeah, that seems reasonable, yeah. The answer is between 3 and 4 minutes.
Oh,
Unbelievable. But it's in the books and
rescued.
transferred, to get it actually launched. And so what would happen is the ropes and chains would be already here, ready to go. So when the guys arrive, they start off and take it down quickly to the corner there, and the stick men would already be there, ready. So they quickly go underneath and jump it down quickly, run down. They could get it out in just under 4 minutes, which is incredible. Coming back, of course, there were no time constraints because the job was done. They had a big Shire horse, and they'd attach it to the horse. The guys would be behind, and they'd push it back up the hill. But that, of course, didn't matter time-wise because they'd
Why didn't they have to keep it up here?
well, because, as I say, this was the only building they could find, or the only space they could find that was big enough to house it, 34 feet. And if they'd have left it down there on the beach, it would have rotted in no time because it was wood, and the storms would have just smashed it on the rocks anyway. So they had to have somewhere inside where they could work on it, maintain it, and keep it. But they had to keep it varnished for a start, So give you an idea though how tough it was. I mean, we've got here an inch either side. Perhaps to get it through.
Yes.
So I mean, it was even more amazing that they could wheedle that round in under 4 minutes. And of course, the other mistake they made was they didn't think that the height of the building was going to be a problem, but it was, and they hit 3 buildings on the way around. So we'll have a bit of a chuckle as we go down the hill and see what happened there. Now here's the boat itself, about 34 feet. So quite a big beast. These are the guys pulling it.
You know when
These are
those
the
pictures
sailors.
were made?
Sorry, sir?
The pictures were made when?
When? Well, this one was, so there's the captain there, Doc's house there. This was 1900, this one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
1900, so about 120 years old, this one, yeah. And the boat was made so it couldn't sink, but it could turn over, and which was a fair trade, really. And if the guys were thrown out, they'd hang on to their oars and then climb back in when it righted itself. But provided the storm wasn't too bad and they weren't lost anyway. So, that's it. Well, part of the problem really is that the difference between tide in and tide out is 8 metres, and that's massive. So you've got great for boats, but imagine a storm behind with just shooting in. The village got flooded all the time, so they got thoroughly fed up with it. And in the 1920s, they went up to the top. So the whole village went up to the top, and they just left the poorest people in the old village, which we'll have a look at and you will love later on. And that meant that the other thing they did was the breakwaters here. They built them in the 1920s to stop the storms, and they have done. So that was very worthwhile. Now, very occasionally on a high tide, if there's a storm behind, it will still flood the village. And it comes over those breakwaters as if they weren't there, just crashes straight into the village. But that's a rarity, and probably only once or twice in a year. so that's all okay. This is quite interesting, this photo. So it's a lovely photograph of the village from the air, and it's taken from the drone, the company drone, which is
Oh.
about £40,000 worth, top of the range thing, and they use that for swooping in to scenes and swooping out again, and getting underneath where the camera normally can't go. So technology is improving all the time and increasing, and every time it does, they're on top of it and they grab it and use it. So it's constantly being changed and updated, which is really good. Fine. Okay, let's come on up the hill, folks, and we can have a look at the school from the other side. Yeah.
So they've got the rights to it. I thought they got the rights to it first. It cost a million. Did it? That was yes, I know, yeah. It wasn't bad a lot, but it was still a big risk, wasn't it? Yeah.
And also 10 years in Spain before we came here.
Wow. Yeah, we're
For
from
about 11 years.
Memphis. That's where we live now, anyway.
Was it? Ah, well done. Well done. Good. Okay. Well done. Okay, excellent. Good. Well, this is the school, folks, seen from the other side. Lovely old building. Looks a bit like a church, because in the old days it was very often the church that funded the building, and very often the vicar was the teacher. So that's why they look like this, but they're so gorgeous, it's worth preserving, really. This was built in 1877 and hung on till 1977 as a primary school, and then they built another one up the top there, and the kids were told on the day of removals to pick up their desks, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and march up that hill there, which is called Sleepy Hill, and then a quarter of a mile along to their new school. So they were made of pretty strong stuff in those days.
Yeah.
Eventually it was made into a hotel, as we see now. 13 rooms and very good food, and the icing on the cake is the parking at the back. It's the only place in the village where you can park a car. So it's always full. So it's the first choice of anybody. Even over the winter it's pretty full, so people still come in then. Now there was no water or electricity in the village until 1940. Well done, Sally. And no sewerage until 1970. So the Port Isaac we see now bears no relation at all to the Port Isaac of old. We're talking abject poverty and day-to-day survival or not. So it was a very different Port Isaac to now. I mean, now it's all mod cons, thanks to Doc Martin. But in the old days, there were probably thousands of people that are here. Now the population is about 700 to 800, quite small relatively, but we get about 2,500 people a day coming in now because of Doc Martin. But in the old days, if you look at the map, we're 10 to 12 miles away from anywhere, the nearest place. If you're born in Port Isaac, you stayed in Port Isaac. There was nowhere else to go. So they all married each other, which wasn't great. But the thing was, the families were big, so there was a bit of choice. This is something far better now, I can tell you. Yeah, so we have got away with that. I'll fill you in on the bit that you've missed just at the end, if that's okay.
Yes.
Good. Come on up, folks.
It's for Louise's
Sun's
cottage
coming out
now.
again. Great. Yes.
We brought it from Memphis.
Yeah, well done. Good man. Okay, I'll need to just tuck in
Yeah.
here, folks. So let the car through here. Okay, about here is it. And
This is
yeah. Well done. Who goes top of the class then?
Louise's
This one?
cottage.
Louisa's cottage, well done.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I can
yes.
see we've got some good educated Doc Martin folk this
Yes,
morning.
yes.
Yeah, Louisa's cottage. Yeah, that's right. Now it's tiny, and remember, it was only used for about 3 episodes.
Right.
But for those 3 episodes, it's become an iconic building, and everybody wants to stay here. It's a letting property, and it's fully booked to the middle of next year. ridiculous. But it shows you how popular the programme is.
Great.
And it's
Great.
only 1 bedroom, really. The second bedroom is the landing with a couple of beds shoved on it. And the bathroom is tacked onto the kitchen. So 5-star luxury it isn't, but because it's Louisa's cottage, everybody wants to stay here. So just the popularity of the programme is amazing. I mean, they're all letting properties. Auntie Ruth's is, this one is, the Docks. So, you know, they're all privately owned, and of course they all do very well. This one is, I think, at the peak, is £1,200 a week. I mean, which for one bedroom is ridiculous. So there we go. Come on up, folks.
Wow.
Did you get Louis?
Yes.
Picture.
A bit breezy here, but we'll only be here for a couple of minutes. Yeah. Do you remember Series 3? There was a new age couple living off roadkill.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They barbecued
Yeah,
a badger and the smell. The dog was called in.
Yes.
Well, that was in the cottage. The terrible family were living
Yeah.
in the cottage next to Louisa's.
Right.
And the actual barbecue was just literally around the corner here.
Oh,
Ah.
yeah.
And the terrible child was scraping cars and whatnot.
That's it, yeah.
Brat, yeah, dreadful. But the interesting thing here, folks, of course, is the view. And without this vehicle here, they love to film from here because this shows the Cornish coast and its rugged beauty, if you like. But the real interesting thing is, the breakwaters there, which we saw on the map here, or the photo. But the fascinating thing, of course, is the rocks just to the left. They look as if they've been put like this. Well, they were, but in really 550 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And they were put there as a landing point for ships coming in regularly with the groceries, the wheat stickers. And they dock up there where the rocks were, and they take the stuff off, they walk across the rocks into this next bay here, up on a pulley, and bring the food around into the village. No roads, of course. So there was a big boat